All right, what's up, Colts Nation? Look, here's the deal. I don't know if you remember this, and if you've been on this channel for a while, you might remember one of our original Colts videos, probably, it was about week 3, because that's when it happened. And one of the videos, what we talked about, probably the 4th or 5th one that we did, I said, Indianapolis Colts have a huge loss, but here's why it doesn't matter. And it was hard. It was a hard video to make because it was talking about Anthony Richardson and how he was going to be lost for a significant period of time. Maybe at the time it was only a couple weeks, but we talked about how, hey, you have a team in place and this team is a legitimate team with or without Anthony Richardson. And what I meant by that was that Gardner Minshew was good enough to keep this team afloat because of the talent around them and because of what Shane Steichen has done with this team. He is a good football coach. All right. He is a good football coach. So yes, that is exactly what we're talking about in this, but it's going to be with a different player. All right. And I'll just kind of, without further ado, I'll start showing you some stuff on the screen. All right. James Boyd, he's the athletic reporter for the Colts, said with breaking news on Twitter, Jonathan Taylor will undergo thumb surgery tomorrow based on when this tweet was. That might be today. All right. He's undergoing thumb surgery in hopes that he can return in 2 to 3 weeks. In other words, they hoped that they can have him for the final few games of the season. That's the hope. Okay, so here's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to talk about the injury. We're going to talk about what it means, but you see the title, and you see that I say they still have great news despite a major injury. All right, and that great news is a man named Zach Moss, but we're going to get into that. So first, let's see what's going on. All right, he sustained the injury during the Colts win over Tampa. All right, which was his best game of the year. He finally was getting to the point where he was running like Moss. All right, he had 2 touchdowns. They say hopefully it's only 2 weeks, but time will tell. This is what Irsay said. By the way, Irsay is always talking about injuries. How do you feel about that as a Colts fan? Does it ever bug you with how out front he is? I know with the Lions, because if you don't know what our channel is, we have another one, and you can even see it right there. It's on my background. All right. So you see Sports Talk Detroit, even though this is Sports Talk Extra. And it's one of those things where, like, we've started that channel, but we love teams that the NFL seems to ignore. And unless Peyton Manning's there, that's how it kind of goes with the Colts. And so he missed the first 4 games of the season. We see all that kind of stuff. All right, so this isn't the first time this doctor has done these hand surgeons. He's one of the best. He did it with Drew Brees. He did it with Chris Paul. He did it with Mike Trout. So it's not like this is a guy who's new to the business. But the Colts, I don't know how to say this. Like, they're in a good spot. Like, they're in a good spot right now. They've won 3 games in a row, all right? And it wasn't against great teams. And when you look at their schedule down the stretch, every single game is winnable. So they're still in a good position. In fact, I'll let you see it, all right? When you look down the stretch, they just beat Carolina, New England, Tampa Bay. I'm not saying those are 3 great teams. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that they beat them, all right? Then you have Tennessee. You have Cincinnati coming up after that. All of a sudden, that's not daunting. Like, the Cincinnati game isn't daunting because they don't have Joe Burrow. Then you go to Pittsburgh. I still think that team's fake. All right. Then you have Atlanta, Las Vegas, and you end with Houston. You are absolutely still in the mix, not only for the playoffs, but also a little bit for the division. That'll be harder. But right now, if the season started today, you have the preseason, not preseason, but pre-playoffs, you would be the 7th seed. You'd be in the playoffs right now. So why is this like a good, I'm not saying it's good news that Taylor got hurt, but you still have this guy, Zach Moss. And I have his PFF stuff brought up right now. His overall grade is a 71. Okay? He has a rushing game grade of of 74. Like he's not bad. When you look at Jonathan Taylor, he has an overall grade of 71 and a rushing grade of 70.5. Jonathan Taylor has 414 yards rushing on 100 carries for a 4.1 yards per attempt. Zach Moss this year on more carries, 141, has 672 yards, 5 touchdowns with a 4.8 yards per carry. Look, do you want both of them in there? Of course you do. But this is why you have multiple running backs. You are not in a position where you can be successful if you don't have multiple running backs. Let me give you the first 4 games that Zach Moss had. It was started in week 2. Remember, he was injured too. In week 2, he had 18 carries for 88 yards. 18 carries for 88 yards. Week 3, 30 carries for 122. Week 4, another 18 carries for 70. Week 5, he went nuts against Tennessee. This was such a weird game because Tennessee was like the best run defense in the league for the first 4 weeks of the season. Then they play against the Indianapolis Colts. He goes 23 carries, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is a player that can be good. And I'm not just talking about in fantasy football, right? Like, am I happy that I have Zach Moss on my fantasy football team? Yes, I am, because he will now start for me this week. He's absolutely going to start because Jonathan Taylor's out, and he's going to start the next week too. So he's going to help me in my playoff push. That is my hope for Zach Moss. But he is going to do the same thing for the Indianapolis Colts. He's going to do the same thing for the Indianapolis Colts. He goes against Tennessee, that same team he ran all over against, right before Jonathan Taylor came back from injury. Then he's got Cincinnati. That is a defense that has given up not an atrocious amount, but they can give up some rushing yards. This is still going to be okay. And here's the thing. You know Jonathan Taylor is going to be back in 2 or 3 weeks. So at most, he misses Tennessee, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. And then you get him back for Atlanta, Las Vegas, Houston. So Zach Moss, give him the ball 25 times a game. Give him the ball 30 times a game. It doesn't matter because you know you have your $14 million a year man coming back. But Zach Moss will show why you need to keep him on the team going forward because he's a good player. And I hope as Colts fans, you are thankful that you have a running back that is a good player like Zach Moss, and let's just hope he stays healthy. The beautiful thing about this is that in the since Jonathan Taylor has come back, he had 7, 18, 11, and then in the last 3 games, he's had 7, 1, and 8 attempts. There's just not a lot of attempts. His body's good. His body's healthy. He's ready to rock. All right, so let's see what he can do. I'm excited to watch it, and I hope you guys are ready. I know it's a bummer when you get a star back and then he's gone. I get it. All right, but hopefully you can see the silver lining in this and that the Colts are going to I'm not going to say they're not going to miss a beat, but they can continue to have success with Zach Moss running the football. Hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe. See you on the next one.